All right, guys, welcome back to yet another episode of the Caffeine Octane Podcast. This is brought to you by Ride Lounge, Atlanta's fastest-growing vehicle storage and social club, located in Peachtree Corners with two more on the way, both in Milton and in Midtown. I'm your host, Grant Van Brewer. I've been doing this sort of thing for over a decade now, coming to Caffeine and Octane. I've worked for brands like McLaren, BMW, and Porsche in the past. And just keep in mind, Caffeine and Octane is America's largest monthly car show. It's the first Sunday of every month here at Town Center at Cobb and Kennesaw, Georgia. And be sure to go to caffeineandoctane.com to check out all the official merch and other information. And in personal note, before we get to our guest, before the exotics, I grew up on Hondas. I've had a 15-plus count of Hondas in my history. So today's guest hits close to home. Please welcome Tom Hornsby. Thanks for making it out.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I was here filming last time, and I spotted your EG hatchback, or EH, whichever nomenclature you want to use, and I couldn't find you. But I go, that car belongs to somebody I need to talk to. And so then I did my Instagram thing and, reached out to you, and I appreciate you coming on. So we both know Don Napier, who started Import Alliance. That was kind of our mutual connection there. We started talking about Hondas and everything, and you shared some of the old photos with you and your wife back in 1999. You both had a couple of Civic Si hatchbacks.
In '97, we both had matching Civic Si hatchbacks, and then in 2001, I B-swapped both of them. So we had matching black 92 Si hatchbacks with B-swaps, and back in the day, it wasn't as common as it was, especially on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So but her first car was a '97. Her first car in '97 was that 92 Civic Si.
That's amazing. Mine was a 91. That one was mostly unmodified until I wrecked it. And then my second car was a 92 Civic Si hatchback, Captiva Blue, with a B16 in it.
Oh, okay.
And that was back in 04. I mean, I was kind of early. I was in East Tennessee. There was nothing else around. Everything was still body kits and neon lights at the time.
Yep.
Not hating, just saying, a little bit of a movement happening there.
Right.
That was back in like the JDMcivic.com, HondaTech.com days, which is still going, obviously.
Yep.
So I wanted to first, outside of the cars, who is Tom Hornsby? What does day-to-day life look for you?
I was in Georgia my whole life up until about 3 years ago, and then my wife and I moved just over the state line to Alabama. We wanted some land, and we lived in a subdivision, so I like mini bikes. So I would ride mini bikes with my kids, and we had a cop that lived in our neighborhood and started cramping our style there. And we wanted animals. My wife got some chickens, and they were kind of against the ordinance, so we moved out there, and we got a little bit of land and a bunch of animals, and now we can ride mini bikes and rev cars, and if you want to do whatever you want in your yard, nobody cares because there's nobody really close.
So, that's awesome.
Family man, wife. I've been with my wife since 1996. We started dating in 1996.
Wow.
Never broke up.
Awesome.
Got two kids. My son is about to turn 18. My daughter just turned 14. So
that's awesome.
He's a car guy too.
Yeah. And what do you do for work outside of the car stuff?
My wife and I both work at a Google data center.
Okay.
Yeah, and before that, though, I was in the automotive industry. I worked at an independent Honda-only shop, and then I managed it. I worked there for about 12 years and managed it for the last 6.
Very cool.
And that working in the Honda industry was my gateway to actually getting a foot in the door at Google in an IT field.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So you mentioned Honda Tech earlier. I was a pretty ever-present on Honda Tech back in the day. I was one of the moderators in the EG Civic group and the hybrid, which we used to call engine swap cars hybrids. Before hybrid was hybrid electric.
Right, yeah.
So I was in those groups, and I did a bunch of technical write-ups, and I would do a lot of answering questions and writing up exactly what parts and wiring and ECUs and stuff you needed to get a B-Series into like a 92 to 95 Civic.
Yeah.
And one day this guy reached out to me through Honda Tech Messenger, and he said, hey, I want to put a Type R motor in my car. I got a 94 Civic, and every time I Google it, your name comes up and your write-ups come up. So I became friends with this guy, helped him get his engine in his car, and one day he calls me at the shop, and I was having a really bad day, and I was already looking for a career change. And he was like, hey, man, you sound really stressed out. And I was like, I'm pretty stressed out. I'm having a really bad day. The parts aren't coming in on time. Mechanics are being mechanics. They were being really, arguing about hours and stuff, and had a couple problem customers and whatever, So I told him, I was like, I'm just ready for a career change. And he was like, well, dude, I never told you this before, but I work at Google, and I think you'd be perfect there. You can just learn a different language. You know all this car technical stuff. You're really good with expressing it and helping people out and talking and writing it up. And so I went there to Google as a temp worker. I was making $13.50 an hour. I took a huge pay cut, and that's actually what forced me to sell my full tear down, full build EG hatchback that most people knew me for from Honda Tech was during that kind of rough patch of making a career change, taking a bet on myself and taking a huge loss up front. But once I got back on my feet and got full time at the data center at Google, 2017 is when I started seeking out another Honda to do. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Caffeine and Octane. I mean, you've been coming out to the show for a long time. I mean, you were here last month. I think the month before as well.
Yep.
What does Caffeine and Octane mean to you personally, and what keeps bringing you back?
Caffeine and Octane is interesting because no matter what you have an interest in, it's here. It's literally something for everyone. If you like Jeeps, there's a ton of Jeeps. If you like bikes, there's bikes. If you like exotics, they're here. If you like old Hondas, Miatas, the Charger crowd, whatever walk of life, whatever car you're into, you can find a row of them here.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think is unique about Caffeine and Octane compared to other shows or meets that I go to. A lot of them are only import focused or maybe even only Honda focused, which I love that stuff.
Yeah.
But I like seeing anything that's clean, anything that's modified, anything that's clean. I love it. And like there's a Toyota Hilux over here, an old pickup truck the guy completely restored. Like, I love that kind of stuff because I'm like, dude, if I did an old Toyota truck, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
So that's what brings me back. You see something new every time, and in this era of social media, that's saying something because I think a lot of people get this already seen it mentality. Because you've seen everything possible on social media. You get full walkthroughs and YouTube videos, and you experience a car without ever having to leave your house. So when you come here, you might actually see something you haven't seen online, which is saying something.
Yeah, and seeing some of these cars in person is way different than seeing them online as well.
Definitely. Definitely.
I mean, the community side of it, I mean, Caffeine and Octane, it's produced friendships, connections, and moments that have mattered, beyond just showing the car. So, yeah,
definitely.
I totally agree with you there.
Definitely.
Where did the Honda obsession start, and what was the first one? Was it the 92 that you got?
No, almost. So my obsession started, my mom had a 90 Honda Civic, and actually, back it up a second, my stepdad had an 86 Prelude SI, 2.0 SI. It was black with gold pinstripes and gold MSW wheels. And I loved that car, and so I knew I liked Hondas. And then my mom had a 90 Honda Civic, and she was at the dealership getting it serviced. And I walked to the showroom floor, and on the showroom floor was a 92 Flint Black Pearl SI hatchback. And they just changed the body style.
Yeah.
And some people, it's going to sound so hokey, but people like, McLaren's my dream car. When I saw that 92 SI, I was like, that's my dream car. I love the shape of it. I'd never seen anything like it. The split clamshell rear tailgate.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and I was like, when I turned 16, that's what I want. Didn't quite work out that way, but when I turned 16, my first Honda was a 90, my mom's 90, standard hatchback, so 70 horsepower.
That's right, 70.
70, vinyl seats, four on the floor.
Yep,
one mirror. She didn't have any options.
I had the exact same one.
Yeah, man. So mine was Rio Red, that bright red color.
Mine was Rio Red.
Dude, yeah. Nice. So Rio Red, and then I told my mom that my dream car was a 92 SI, so she gives me this 90, and I was grateful for it, and I had to pay insurance and repairs and tires, which there was a lot of that. And what does she bring home? She brings home a Flint Black Pearl 92 SI hatchback for herself.
Oh, gosh.
It drove me crazy.
I bet.
But when I turned 18, when I graduated high school, she sold me her SI. I gave her car back and $5,000, and I got her SI.
Oh, lovely.
And so that's what really kicked off. But dude, I put a RS Sakamoto intake on my 90 standard model, thinking I actually thought it was kind of fast.
Yeah.
Until literally a teal Ford Escort wagon with 5 people in it dragged me from a red light with my wife in the car. Now wife. She was my girlfriend then. She still talks to me, talks trash about that every day. That's hilarious. But yeah, that's kind of where it started, was seeing that SI on the showroom floor.
Yeah. Well, what is it about, like, let's say the Honda Acura platform specifically, like the engineering philosophy, the community, the aftermarket? I mean, what keeps it going for you?
I think all of that. Initially, what drew me towards it was you could buy a Civic hatchback from a little old lady, right? Back in the early 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
You could buy it from an original owner, pay $3,000 for it. It'd have like 87,000 miles on it. And then you'd spend about $5,000 on an engine swap and coilovers and maybe some brakes off an Integra. And for under $10,000, you had a car that you could take and run, mid-14s in a quarter mile, which back then was fast.
Yeah.
Autocross it, take it to a track day, take it to shows, take it to meets. They were comfortable, they were super reliable, they revved high. I thought they sounded awesome. And so that was kind of what drew me in initially. Over the course of time, they've gotten more expensive. We were talking about this before you started rolling, and 40-something-year-old guys now are jumping back into the Honda game after they've kind of graduated from Hondas. So driving the price up. But the philosophy for me with Honda, it's the engineering, it's the high revs. You don't have to have a lot of displacement. There is a replacement for a displacement. It's VTEC. And now maybe it's VTEC and Boost.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the handling for a front-wheel drive, front-engine car, I love the platform. Their Type R, even their Prelude SH handled awesome. The Civics, you do a little suspension work, a big rear sway bar, and they handle awesome.
Oh, yeah. Different machine.
Yeah. An economy car that actually can beat sports cars at their own game is pretty interesting to me.
We'll be right back, but before we do, I want to take a second to talk about the official Caffeine and Octane merch. Look, this community is something special, and now you can wear it. We're talking hoodies, tees, hats, quality stuff that actually looks good, whether you're out at the show on a Sunday morning or just living your life. Head over to caffeineandoctane.com, check out the full lineup, and rep the brand. We'll be right back. Yeah, what was the, let's talk a little bit about the K20 Supercharged build. Walk us through how that car came together and, where it is now versus where it started.
So, interestingly enough, a lot of people know me for a car that I built back in 2001. It was a 92 CX. I sold my SI. I actually got tired of getting beat by my buddies in their CX and BXs because they
Lighter.
were like, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I didn't care about the moonroof back then. Sold that car, picked up a CX, stripped it down to nothing, and did a proper color change. Made it Vogue Silver Metallic, which we never got here for the EG or the EH. Put a Type R spop in it, spoon SW388 wheels, Coney yellows, custom coilovers. That was like a full build, and for back in 01, 02, it became very well known on Honda Tech, and I documented everything then. So everybody knew me for that car. A lot of people think that my current green car is that same car, but it's not. I had to sell that car. I kept that car for 11 years, and I sold it in 2012, like I mentioned when I was a temp worker at Google.
Yeah.
And so I told my wife as that car was pulling away, and I was literally crying, I was like, I'm going to build one better when we get the money back up. So I got hired on full time, built up a bunch of money. 2017, I went to build a car. I joined a random Facebook group, and I was doom scrolling it before bed. I joined it that day, and I saw that green car for sale. So I was not planning to buy a, quote, done car. That was not in the cards for me. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'd rather build my own.
Yeah.
But I saw the car. It was already green. It already had the K series. It already had the supercharger. It was basically kind of a done car by most people's standards.
Sure.
So I reached out to the seller, and immediately I thought it was a scam because he was like, it's not my car, it's my buddy's car. He doesn't have social media, but here's his phone number. So I called the guy. Turns out he's a Honda Master Tech, and he had declined selling the car to a couple of younger guys because he thought it would get trashed. So I was trying to give him cred. I was trying to earn cred with this guy and say, well, here's the builds I've done in the past. I've built a bunch. I worked at a shop, and I mentioned my silver car a couple of times, and he was like, I don't do social media. I didn't do Honda Tech. I don't know the car. I was like, okay, no big deal. But I sent him pictures, and he was like, okay, cool. So Don Napier, ties it in.
Yeah.
He lived right by the dealership where this car was, where the guy was selling it.
Oh, did he go look at it for you?
He looked at it for me.
Yeah.
Sends me a bunch of pictures of it, and then he's like, this car's perfect. It's you. It's like if you had done one with a K series, this is it. And so he calls me back 30 minutes later. He's like, you're not going to believe this. The guy who's selling the car, it turns out he does know your car. In fact, when he was just gotten a job at Honda as an oil change guy, he had just sold his EJ Coupe and was about to build a drift car. He was quote, done with Hondas. His buddy dragged him from Tennessee down to the Nopi National Super Show. His buddy kind of wanted to see my car in person because he'd seen it documented the build on Honda Tech. He drags this guy down with him, and it turns out this guy sees my car and falls in love with it. And we didn't know this at the time when I first contacted him about buying this green car. But basically, he sat there and talked to me for like an hour. I let him sit in the car, rode through the gears. I told him all the specs and everything, and he decided to build a better EG hatchback than mine, and turned out to be this green car.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So I noticed some subtle things about what he had painted, what he didn't have painted, some OEM Plus stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was talking to him about it, he was like, now that I know that was your silver car, I was drawing styling cues of how you did certain things on that car. And again, I did not want to buy a built car. I built, not bought, right? Or bought, not built.
Yeah.
But it was too perfect, and he sold it to me for a stupid cheap price because of the history of it, and I kind of helped inspire him build that car.
That's amazing. So
it came full circle.
That's incredible.
And I still talk to him to this day. That was 2017. I still have the car. Now, I've done a lot to it since I bought it. It was a, quote, done car, but it had some older coilovers. It had 11-inch brakes from an NSX on it.
Okay,
but I ripped everything out from underneath the car, put all new arms, suspension, bigger brakes. They're 11.75 Willwoods now. All new bushings, all new camber kits. The transmission is now built. Broke fourth gear completely. He told me the trans probably wasn't going to hold up to the pressure of the Supercharged K.
Yeah.
So broke second in 2018, had it rebuilt, and then broke fourth in 2020. Now it's got a BF gear, custom 1 through 4, all motor gear set.
Nice.
They're still helical, but less pitch, so they're whiny. Each tooth is thicker. The gearing is closer to each other. So when you shift 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, it stays up at like 6,500 RPM.
Nice.
It bangs kind of like a super bike.
Yeah.
And then 5th and 6th are still stock ratios, so I can still cruise on the interstate.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
So.
Supercharged versus turbocharged on a K series. This is a real debate in the Honda world. Where do you stand, and why did you go the blower route?
Okay, so the blower was on the car, so that was kind of predetermined.
Right.
And I was intrigued by it, but I figured I would probably pull it off and put like a K20R Type R. I was all motor. I loved NA stuff, right?
Yeah.
Then I drove it, and it's instant torque, it's instant power. The throttle response is insane. It doesn't make near the peak power as a turbo, and a properly sized turbo is going to actually cost less and spool not as quickly as a roots blower, but it will spool quickly. So overall, I think the turbo is going to be better for most people because it's more cost effective. You can make way more power, and if you size the turbo well enough, small enough, and you get a ball bearing turbo so it spools quickly, dude, they'll rip. I mean, I probably get dragged by an equally, turbocharged versus my car, right?
Sure.
But the roots blower, to me, I love the sound of it. I love it has an NA feel. It's a very linear power band.
Yeah.
And it only makes like 300 horsepower to the wheels, but it's on pump gas, 93 octane.
So it's reliable, right?
Oh, I've been beating it relentlessly for 10 years now, and the engine is bone stock.
That's amazing.
I mean, the engine, rod bolts, cams, valve train, it's completely bone stock, and I beat it. And the only thing it's ever broken is the trans.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
Transmission.
And then that dude in blue reviewed this car on YouTube. Is that right? Yeah.
Yep.
So what was that experience like? And did the video get it wrong or right or?
So he did his homework. We got together and we did some pre-production stuff where he sent me some questions, and I sent a bunch of information back. The funny thing is, the only reason I did it initially was because my son at the time was a huge fan of David, That Dude in Blue. And my son wanted to be a YouTuber, right? So he watched That Dude in Blue videos, and we met him at an Import Alliance, Don's show, Import Alliance.
Yeah.
And That Dude in Blue had a tent, and he was selling products, and my son met him, and my son actually said, you should review my dad's car. And he probably gets that a lot.
Yeah,
and
sure.
he was like, yeah, cool, I'll check it out. And like then I saw David at my car, and I caught him. And then my son comes up, and he's like, oh, this is your dad's car. And he's like, yeah, I told you should review it. And he was like, here's my number. I'm definitely going to want to review this. This is pretty interesting because everything he'd seen and done was turbos.
Yeah.
So he got it right, man. We credited John Pojanowski, was the guy who built most of the car. Almost, you could say he built the car, and then I've just done refinements and improvements and tried to make it nicer.
Yeah.
But John Pojanowski was credited in That Dude in Blue's video. I don't take full credit for the teardown and build and stuff, but the thing is, because I built cars and I understand what goes into it, I knew that I wasn't buying somebody's problem.
Right.
I talked to him about pinouts and wiring, and he built the harness by hand.
Wow.
It's a melding of an RSX and a Civic harness. It does not have a jumper harness. It has a functional immobilizer. So if you haven't built one and you buy a done car, you can buy a nightmare, and that's something David kind of touched on. He's like, the fact that I bought somebody's car that would have been a project car by most people's standards,
right,
and it was completely reliable, it never had any issues at the time of that filming, and I think that video's gotten like 750,000 views.
That's incredible.
And a ton of comments, and I respond to comments because people have questions, and but he got almost pretty much everything right about it, man. I don't think he really misspoke at all. A couple of other people have done reviews. Ben, this is gonna be terrible. My buddy Ben has a TikTok that's massive, and he does a ton of reviews on cars. And he called it a K24 out of a Type S and got dragged.
Oh, really?
Like you misquote one spec, and the community will let you know.
They'll light you on fire. Yeah.
It's almost like a smart play, though. I think Ben might have done it on purpose because he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
I think he did that to elicit a ton of comments, because people are more likely to comment on a mistake or to correct you than they will to prop or support something that's very well executed.
1,000%, yeah.
So I think he kind of did that on purpose. But David got it right. Ben got it pretty much right, except for that one little detail. And then S3 Magazine.
I saw that.
Yeah, Jonathan Woolley, I've known him for a long time. He's also a Honda guy.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are they started off with Hondas.
Mm-hmm.
Rutledge Wood,
Yep.
Honda guy.
Yeah.
NASCAR, he's a friend of mine. I still talk to Rutledge Wood. They started off with Hondas, and they graduated. I never graduated. I stuck with Honda. So like that's kind of the joke. Like, well, all my buddies went to like Evos and Subarus and then Vets and maybe they did drift cars and they get into exotics. I stayed with Honda Civics pretty much the whole time.
That's awesome.
And then a lot of those guys came back.
That's awesome. Let's talk about some crazy stories. I mean, you've been around the block just as I have with these cars.
Yeah.
I mean, best story involving this car, a run, an event, a moment that still comes up. Or maybe not just this car, but maybe one of your Hondas.
The craziest story was in my 92 SI hatchback. We would go to a street racing spot, and we'd been to the street racing spot a ton, and there was only one way in, only one way out, which is not very smart.
Yeah.
But we saw headlights coming the wrong way, and they looked like Ford Taurus headlights, and at the time, our county had a bunch of Ford Taurus cop cars. So we'd been to this, it's like an industrial park. We'd been to this place a million times, but we'd never actually driven through the buildings. So we turned just our corner lights on because we didn't want to turn our headlights on. We were going to pull through these buildings and wait for the cop to pass and then rip out of there and escape. So we're pulling through these buildings, and I was the first car in line, and we're driving about 20 miles an hour between these two buildings, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, but I just plummeted like 8 feet. I drove off a loading dock.
Oh my gosh.
It was a loading dock that it was in between two buildings, so it looks like a tunnel, but in the middle of that tunnel, a drop off and then a ramp. It's all concrete that comes back up, so in the daytime, you can't see the loading dock. It's an optical illusion coming from the direction we were.
Gosh.
So I drove this car off a loading dock, and it bent the car in half. And I ended up like radiator fluid spewing everywhere, and I parked the car, and the car behind me almost went off too.
Oh, gosh.
And he was like, I didn't know what happened. I just saw your taillights disappear, and I just slammed on the brakes. And the funny thing is, it wasn't a cop. It was a Ford Taurus, but it was not a cop. So we were like trying to run from a not cop, and I basically totaled that car driving it off a loading dock.
Yeah.
Now, I ended up working at a body shop at the time, and they actually put it on the frame machine and pulled it, and they fixed it, and the car actually turned out to be really, really nice after they fixed it.
Wow.
That's probably the craziest story, was trying to run from a cop and literally driving off a loading dock. So my friends from that era still reference that.
And key, that era, obviously we're not advocating for street racing.
No, sorry, yeah.
Times were different way back then, and
Yes.
I'm sure we're way past the statute of limitations.
Yeah,
so
and
don't street race.
No, yeah, and we were actually mostly spectating. I should add.
There we go. Yeah.
I had a D16 Z6 single cam VTEC at the time. I wasn't like out dragging anybody.
Probably weren't winning much in that. Yeah.
No, we would have fun runs with our friends and stuff.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
that was probably the craziest. Was like literally driving off a loading dock, and it didn't stop. It just I kept going. So
I've had some similar events. I don't know about that, but something similar.
yeah, it was pretty rough.
Has it ever surprised you, like on the track, at a show, anywhere, in a way you didn't expect?
The current car, yeah, it's surprisingly quick on the highway. I figured that with a supercharger, it doesn't build boost like a turbo.
Right.
So you would think that it would kind of run out of steam, and a lot of the smaller displacement blower cars do.
Yeah.
But it revs to 8,600, and the gearing is short. So if I catch somebody in third or fourth gear and we take off from that speed, it keeps up with a lot of cars it really shouldn't.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most surprising element is the highway. Took it up to the Tail of the Dragon back in October for Classic Hondas on the Dragon, which is my favorite car meet of all time. And it didn't surprise me. I kind of expected it because I set it up for that, but it handles so well. A lot of people think front engine, front drive, drag only. It's actually built for cornering and handling, just to be well-rounded.
That's awesome.
And man, it performs so well up there.
Sublime.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do rapid fire close here.
Okay.
Greatest Honda or Acura ever built, no debate.
Probably the DC2 Integra Type R.
Good answer, yeah.
Yep.
One mod you wish people in the Honda community would stop doing.
Oh, man. People do what you want with your cars, for sure, but I'm not a fan of like the crazy stanced, super stanced camber. With the really, really stretched tires, not a fan.
Supercharged or turbocharged?
Man, both. Honestly, not at the same time, but depending on the application, right? Overall, the turbo is going to be cheaper and make more power, for sure.
Yeah.
But I love the Roots blower.
Yeah. Most overrated generation in Honda history that everyone treats like a holy relic.
You're going to hate me for this, Honda community. The EM1 SI is not.
Okay.
99 2000 Civic SI. It was the introduction to the V16A for most people, but I knew that it was in a Del Sol VTEC before.
Yeah.
And I hated the fact it was a coupe. I thought an SI should be a hatchback. So when they delivered it as a coupe, and I knew that the hatchback existed in Japan, I hated the EM1. Now, I appreciate it more now, but back in the day, hated that car.
You know, it's almost like you look like a BMW E46 M3. Like, we should have had a wagon. You know, that sort of
I'm a wagon guy.
Yeah. So I can agree
Absolutely.
with that. VTEC, still relevant in 2025 or just a meme at this point?
I think it's still relevant. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they still include it on, their Type Rs and stuff. And if you have an exhaust, you can actually still hear it, cross over. It's pretty cool.
One modification on any of your cars that took the longest to get right?
Man, honestly, the air conditioning and the cooling setup on the green EG, because the supercharger makes it cramped for space.
Yeah.
Different radiators, different condensers, different fans.
So you still have AC in your car?
Yes.
Oh, that's
nice.
nice.
And power steering.
Wow.
It's got an electric hydraulic pump from a second-gen SW20 MR2.
Oh, that's
and I can
incredible.
turn the power steering on and off with a toggle
that's
switch.
Amazing. I had several cars back in the day. No AC, no power steering, no cruise control.
Getting it right without overheating, or it's always going to heat soak because it's a supercharger, but sitting in traffic with the AC on and not having the temperature rise, that takes a lot of engineering.
Let's see here. One thing about the Honda community that drives you absolutely crazy.
Oh, the hatred for people's asking prices, for people selling a car. If you're not interested in the car, just keep
Don't
scrolling.
comment,
You're not saving somebody else from overspending. You're just making yourself look cheap. So my personal philosophy is, if somebody wants to spend the money on that car, or if somebody says it's not worth the asking price, it is worth whatever somebody eventually pays for.
Let them.
Let them. So if they pay 10 grand for a car you think's worth $5, the owner's going to count the 10 grand in front of you and show you, I got 10 for it. So whether I think it's worth X amount of dollars is irrelevant. It ultimately only counts what the buyer pays for it.
What is Caffeine and Octane to you in one sentence?
Variety.
I love it.
Yep.
Last one. What do you want people to know about the car that you have sitting out there today?
Ooh, man, that's a good one. I want them to know that it's driven. I don't trailer it anywhere. It has imperfections. People think it's perfect, and it, for a 94 Civic, it might be. But it's got its little nicks and chips and stuff, and I drove it from Alabama here. I'm going to drive it up to Tennessee for Tail of the Dragon. I'm going to drive it up to Tennessee for Import Alliance. I drive the car. It's built to be driven. And if something gets messed up, I'll just upgrade it,
I love it. Well, Tom, thanks for coming out, man. Thanks
man.
for sharing a little bit
Thank
of the
you for
Honda
having
community.
me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks a bunch.
Thank you.